First things first. We're probably doing the worst division in NFL today, all right? We're just going to start off with some poopers. Every team's poop. They're all poop. You got the Bungles. You got something called like a Raven, like some
Hater,
Rich Crash. You got some Steelers, You better hide your purses. And you got the Browns, which should honestly be called the Orange, but... we're going to dive straight in. We didn't really know who to pick first, so we went with my boys' division. So we're probably just going to stay in the AFC first, and then we'll move to the NFC. You go north, south, east, and west. They told you your compass. They taught you how to do your compass. All right, so first things first, we're going to dive right in to NFC North. Since it's being your team's conference, Bengal, Bungle, whatever you want to call them, I'll let you take the floor first. Why don't you take the floor first? Okay, Bungle, lead the charge.
I shall. And we're the Bengals. Thank you very much. Alright, so let's dive into this, y'all. I think, first of all, let's pick the division winner. And obviously, the best team in the division is Cincinnati. So for me, at least, I'm going to pick Cincinnati to win the division. How about yourself, good sir?
I picked the Bungles to win the division as well.
Good. You're a good man. See, ladies and gentlemen, he's a good man. All right, so now that we got the division winner out the way, both agree on that. I think it's probably best that we move on to, the records in the division. So as far as overall team records, we both broke down each team's schedules. So I'll just read off what I have written down. I have two double-digit winners in the division, just like last year. It's the same two teams. So I got the Ravens, but I got them going 10-7. I got Cincinnati for slight improvement over last year at 13-4. I got the Browns going 7-10, and I got the Steelers with their first losing season. And I think it's like 20 plus years, right? So I got them going 8-9, just barely missing that 500 mark. And it was really tough for me because I feel like it could go either way. Like Steelers could go 9-8, they could easily go 10-7. But I just feel like they're a couple pieces away from getting to that step. So I'll pass it off to you. Let's hear your records.
All right, so the Ravens I had 10-7. The Browns I had 7-10. Pittsburgh I had 9-8. And the Bengals I had 11-6. Yeah, I have a few upsets that the Bengals are going to get. And I just think it's strictly going to be based on the Bengals have been good for the last couple years. I think maybe they just get a little cocky. So I had one upset in there. And I'll be a man and say what my upset I thought was. I have the Jacksonville Jaguars beating them. I just have a feeling Jacksonville's at home. Jacksonville is a pretty decent team. The Bengals are going to think they're just going to wipe the floor with Jacksonville, and Jacksonville's going to show them up at home, and it's going to be a good game. I'm not going to say it's not going to be a good game, but it's going to be a good game. But I just have a feeling that Jacksonville makes an upset. So I originally had them at 12-5, but I decided to go with that upset. It just stuck to my heart. I need to do it. I also have them trading wins away with the Ravens and Pittsburgh. I got Pittsburgh winning at home, and I had the Ravens winning at home. I got them sweeping the Browns, so nothing big on that. I think the game they lose in Pittsburgh, they're probably going to lose like a freaking 17-14 game. Like Joe Burrow is just going to go out there and he's going to have 14 points in the first quarter or first half, and then defense just shuts them down after that. And Pittsburgh just somehow finds a way to make things happen defensively. Not offensively, defensively. Because they're at home, because that's what they do. And the Ravens, I just had that one, just the Ravens taking it at home because the Ravens aren't slouches. So outside of that, picking everyone who I had to beat the Bengals, at this point I can't go back and look at all that. But I got them at 11-6. So they had some losses here and there throughout the schedule. I think I've had them to lose to the 49ers. I do believe. But outside of that, I can't remember other teams I had to beat them. But I just remember the only one that was controversial, which, they might end up 12-5 just because they beat the Jaguars. I don't know, just something about the Jaguars just saying to me that, they're going to be a team that like no one really thinks is respectable because their schedule early on isn't very good. So they're just going to walk into Jacksonville and be like, yeah, you guys, your record might be good, but you haven't played anyone. And then they're going to just be like, oh, maybe they're not so bad. And then they're probably going to play them again in the playoffs, and they're going to beat the crap out of the Jags in the playoffs. But they had to lose that game during the regular season to understand, what the Jags are capable of. And you'd rather them lose in the regular season than the playoffs. So I really thought about this one. If we want to dive in deeper, reasons why I have the Bengals losing certain games that they're going to lose is, I don't think the Bengals O-line is the most strongest thing in the world.
We know that.
So I have the feeling that like Jacksonville has a very young, youthful defensive line that will show maybe the offensive line some troubles that game. Obviously, Pittsburgh and the Ravens both strong suits getting to the quarterback. So I feel like that's why those two teams at home can actually upset and beat their Bengals. I don't really see anything other than Myles Garrett on the Browns scaring Burrow. And at that point, they can just double team Myles Garrett and just call it a day and try to settle up shop in other places. To be fair with you, the Browns, I don't know. I don't like the Deshaun Watson trade. I'm not even trying to do the Deshaun Watson massage slander or anything anymore. I just don't think that like getting him at quarterback solved your problems. You still don't really have any wide receivers outside of Amari Cooper. And I don't think Amari Cooper is what he used to be or once was. So I think that's also my next thing with the weakness of the Ravens is they want to expand on Lamar Jackson, but your number one wide receiver is Odell Beckham Jr. I've said it before, I don't think he's a good number one wide receiver anymore. When he was really showing out at the Rams, he wasn't the number one wide receiver. He was borderline the third receiver because he hadn't really gotten in the system. So he was kind of like floating around there for the first 2-3 weeks that he was there. By the time he got in the playoffs, you could say he was the number 2 wide receiver. But before the playoffs, you couldn't really say that he was the number 2. Even then, I do believe that this true number 1 receiver isn't even a receiver on this team. I'm just going to have to say Mark Andrews is their number 1 wide receiver, but he's a tight end. But we're still going to label him as receiver. We're just not going to label him as wide receiver. So I kind of have questions on the skill position when we know going in the season that J.K. Dobbins is going to be your number 1 back. Questionable. I get it. He's more of like a bully kind of back in comparison to Lamar being your elusive back. But I still kind of wish they would have gotten a little bit more spicy in the running game, like a little bit more of a pass catcher kind of role. There's so many of them coming out of college now that you could have done something like that. They just haven't. And then Pittsburgh. For the weakness of the Pittsburgh Steelers is this. The O-line is not what it used to be, and it's gotten really old, and they need to grow it a little bit harder. Secondary-wise, probably one of the best. Defensive line-wise, probably borderline top tier. But the O-line is aged and isn't quite what it once was. And also with the D-line, I'm going to hop right back onto what I just said. D-line-wise, outside of the Watt brother, D-line isn't anything but old men. And I'll say here, I don't know how long you're going to get into the season with that, playing that kind of style. I kind of would rather have a little bit more youth. But it is what it is. It's kind of hard to try to change up your season now, so you kind of have to roll with it as you got it. But I think they should have gone a little younger on the defense in terms of the defensive line. Obviously, I don't look at every single transaction that goes down with the Pittsburgh Steelers. I only took a quick gander at their lineup or their roster, so I might be talking complete trash here, but their main guys they're going to use to start every game at the beginning of the season are a little bit up there in age. So outside of Watt, there is no real threat and scariness on that D-line, kind of like the Browns. And overall, as a defensive unit, I think it's pretty good. but it just lacks like a youth. It just lacks some youngness to it, which the Ravens. I'll say the same thing. The D line isn't anything scary or awesome, but it has a lot of youth in it. You know, which you can build on over a season. And like some of these guys, like they're not household names to everyone, but like I recognize half that defensive line, and they're pretty decent. So I just have the Ravens finishing 10-7. I think their weakness is going to be a skill position. I just think outside of an elusive running back that can pass catch and wide receiving core, I think that's questionable. Bengals, really the only thing that's the problem with the team is the O-line. Maybe you might know it better, but maybe cornerback. I know that injuries have caused that to be a problem for you guys in the past. I didn't really take a look at how much you try to stock up and grow it. But I know you lost Jesse Bates and you lost Von Bell in the same season. So, but you did lose some of them to injury last year anyway. So.
Yeah. In terms of weaknesses for the Bengals, it's definitely offensive line, but I feel like we'll see. It's still early, but that the offensive line kind of clicked later in the season, especially in the playoffs, and then I think after that Bills game, we just got decimated. I feel like, or even before, because the Bills game, that was the game we had the backup. So I think it was the Ravens game that Ravens just kind of took our O-line out, and we went from there and then on. I think we had 3 replacements, so we were just playing with backups until the AFC Championship game, but. We added OBJ, Orlando Brown Jr., so we'll see how it goes. He's going to play left tackle, I think, what's his name? Jonathan, his last name, but I think he's going to move to right tackle, even though he requested a trade, but I think they kind of sued things out.
I mean, I play left tackle my whole life. You want me to go over to right tackle?
Yeah.
I probably want to trade too.
Yeah, especially you bring in a guy, you pay him more money, and you put him in your spot. I mean, that would piss me off too. But
and he wasn't even the problem. I know exactly what you're talking about. He was never hurt. He was never the problem. So
yeah, I feel like most of our issues was the left was. I mean, the whole line is bad. Let's just be honest. But I feel like we brought in so many new guys last year that like 1 year isn't going to like build enough team chemistry, especially when guys are in and out the lineup. So we'll see this year. Hopefully, a full training camp with these guys and get on the same page. Secondary, yeah. I mean, we drafted DJ Turner. We drafted a couple guys. Then we have Awuzie. He's on the PUP list, so he might not be there for the start of the season. So we'll see. I feel like one interesting thing, though, I think we both pretty much have the division right around the same as last year. Because last year, if we look at the standings, like Cincinnati was 12-4. That one game, everyone knows about the Bills, counted as no contest, so that's why they only had 16 games played. We both have the Ravens, the same as last year, 10-7. You have the Steelers, 9-8. I have them 8-9. Then we both have the Browns, 7-10. So I think that's pretty interesting. It just tells you, like, the division's really tough. Like, it's not too much, like, leeway that these teams can do. Like, at best, like, what? We had one of the teams, 2 of the teams, like, a game better or like a game worse, or like in the Cleveland's perspective, we had them the same. So I mean, that's really telling. That just tells you like how much competition is in the AFC North, even though I feel like a lot of people don't really see them as like a powerhouse. And I mean, they're not a powerhouse, but I feel like the teams are tough teams, are definitely tough to play, and kind of like the Jaguars. You said like they're gonna, they can upset you. So.
I think the thing that hurts AFC North is the fact that the NFC teams you have to play the good division in the NFC. Like I had a hard time picking the NFC West games, just because I don't really know how the Rams are going to be. So the Rams were always questionable for me. 49ers is going to be questionable, just because like I feel like going into Ninerland was just so hard to go against the Niners. And then Seahawks, I'm not gonna lie, I didn't give the Seahawks much faith. I don't put much stock in the Seahawks. And then the Cardinals, I don't think any of these teams beat the Cardinals or lost to the Cardinals. So, but
yeah,
it's the other ones like The Rams, I thought that one was really hard to judge for me because
Hmm.
I really don't know how the Rams are going to be. I mean, they have enough old guys on that team to make noise. It's just whether or not they all play together well after a whole year
Hmm.
basically of injuries and a whole year of just not knowing what it was.
Yeah,
Um,
I'm right there with you. I feel like they have all the makings to get back to like a playoff run, but just like a year of just like not even dysfunction, but just a year of just inconsistency. This it can really mess up a team. You were
mhm.
like on a roll just 2 years ago. You won a Super Bowl, and then you just had a year of just like a shit show. So it's kind of some
Mhm.
teams can bounce back. Some teams we've seen just kind of fall apart.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's just a little bit of the Super Bowl drought. People they win the Super Bowl and then they have like a really bad year right after it. It's just normal. It happens.
Hmm.
Hasn't really seemed to happen to the Chiefs, but I also have an opinion that this is going to be the Super Bowl clunker year for the Chiefs. I mean, I already have that thought in my brain. There's a big thought in my brain that it just feels like it's due to happen, and I'm not trying to like make like for wish it or hope it happens, but Mahomes is going to get hurt this year. I just have a feeling Mahomes is going to get hurt. I mean, if you look back at
Well, let's
the
not say that.
look back at the Patriots when they were like basically high at their kind of almost at their peak in the Brady era. I mean, we all kind of forget it, but there was a whole year where Brady tore his ACL and Matt Castle almost took him to the playoffs. So,
They were what
um,
10-6 though. He did
mhm.
his best.
so they he if I mean in a normal year he would have made the playoffs in a normal
Yeah.
year. So I'm not saying that that's going to happen. It just feels like he's kind of gotten these small injuries towards the end of the seasons these last couple of years, and it's a lot of wear and tear in your body when you're literally playing every single game. You're constantly making it to the playoffs every single year, and you're consistently doing well in each of the playoff games. So you're going far in the playoffs. So you're playing more games than everyone else is, and your O line has progressively gotten worse, and this is going to be the worst that the O line has ever been. And on top of that, you got wide receivers who, you got receivers outside of Kelsey, who are complete question marks about what their ceiling and what they can do is.
Yeah.
It might take longer for guys to get open in the field. I just had that feeling, so I actually picked um, some of these teams to upset the Chiefs. So
Yeah, I think going back to if we look at some of the scheduling, yeah, I feel like the Ravens they're gonna be up and down. I think yeah, them winning 10 games. I think just like the division, it's gonna be tough. So it's gonna be tough for these teams to really like. I feel like it's gonna be tough for one team to just like clearly be the better team. If we look into who's gonna make the playoffs, I guess both of the double-digit teams are gonna
I
make
got
the
Ravens and Bengals
playoffs.
making the playoffs. I don't have the Steelers making the playoffs at 9-8.
Because what this year or going forward is 7 teams. So basically the 4 division winners plus 3 wild cards. So
Hmm. I just don't
yeah,
have.
I feel like it'll be tough for Pittsburgh to make it.
I also arguably can have the Pittsburgh going like you do, 8-9. Um, uh, since they pick up Hopkins, I just feel like the Titans are a completely 180 team. I think they went from mediocre, easy division to win games in to middle upper tier and an easy division to win games in. So, um, I you got to look at it that way. Like, there's going to be a winner in that division, so the Jags are probably going to win that division. But the Titans are going to have a really good record just because they're playing the Texans and the Colts twice. That's 4 games. They split the series with the Jags. That's 5 games. That's an easier strength. That's an easier schedule to have and more free games to have than the Steelers and the Browns to have. So I just feel like that doesn't aid the Steelers. And then if you look at the other divisions, I mean, the AFC is just full of like good quarterbacks.
Mhm.
And if we look at AFC West, they're arguably going to get two teams. So, I mean,
Yeah.
three teams. Three teams, sorry.
Potentially, yeah.
Yeah.
I think let's break it down the division a little bit more. I guess let's kind of rank the skill positions. I guess let's obviously start with quarterback. Who we have number one quarterback in the division?
I just go Joe Burrow.
Yeah, I think
go
so.
Joe Burrow, Lamar, Deshaun, Pickett.
Pickett. Yeah, I feel like that's fair. Running back. Who's the best running back in the division? Chubb?
Harris. No, I'm going to go Chubb, Mixon, Harris, Dobbins.
Hello there, and welcome to the MTL Sports Podcast. Thank you for watching this video clip of one of our most recent episodes. Please drop a like, drop a comment in the comment section below, and also please don't forget to subscribe to our channel and also hit that notification bell so you can stay up to date with the most recent MTL Sports Podcast content. For those that don't know, we are also available on Spotify for those who listen audio only. Once again, thank you so much, and this is the MTL Sports Podcast. You whip up my ass.